Shalom. How are you? I hope everyone is having a great Shabbat or Motzi Shabbos if you're in the Western Hemisphere or watching this later. We are continuing with our step through of the ancient Triennial Torah portion. Today, we will be tackling vayikra Yaakov, which is Genesis chapter 49, 1 through 26. And then the Haftarah is Isaiah 43:22 and some verses after that, although we won't be getting into that today, probably, as we will be spending quite a bit of time on the Torah. Adonai Adonenu ma'adir shimcha, ken yi ratzon ki tihyena itanu bayom hazeh. אנחנו רוצים ללמוד טוב בעיניך את כל דברי תורתך. תפתח נא את עינינו, כי אנחנו יכולים לראות את קודשך. לכל הדברים האלה אנחנו נברכך בזכות ישוע HaMashiach. All right, let's go. So, there's only one more parashah in Genesis left. Next week we finish the book of Genesis. Can you believe it? One more Shabbat. Amazing. Then we get to roll into Exodus. That is exciting. And I have kind of a fun idea for you guys as we roll into Exodus. So hopefully you'll like it too. All right, let's get started. You can see the Samech in the Leningrad Codex, the 1,000-year-old Codex, indicating this is where the parasha stops. And today I'll also show you the one indicating when the next one starts, because this one starts at a slightly strange place. All right, let's go. ויקרא יעקב אל בניו, ויאמר, היאספו, ויגידה לכם, את אשר יקרא אתכם באחרית הימים. Vayikra Yaakov. Then Jacob called El unto Baniv, the Banim of Iv, his sons. Vayomer, and he said, Heasifu. So this is a Nephal command form. If you're not used to Nephal imperatives, you might find the hey a little off-putting, right? Like usually we see the prefix hey in he-fills or ho-falls, but here it is. That's part of this form. You just have to get used to it. Usually we'll at least have a dagesh in the first letter to let you know it's a Nephal. But here, because Aleph can't take a Nephal, we have that characteristic tzere under the hey. So hey asefu, be gathered. The agida, and I will ungid, I will cause to nagad, like we have the Haggadah coming up very soon. I will indeed tell, the hey is emphatic, lachem, to you all, et asher, that which yikra etchem. Now don't get confused. This yikra, although likely forming an inclusive with the first yikra, these are different words. These are different words. So this first one, kara, it's to call, right? To call out or to call, like to call, to summon, etc. And the second one, this is just a fairly common alternative spelling for kara ending in a hey, kufresh hey, which is to happen, right? So vayikra Yaakov, Jacob called, but now yikra etchem will happen to you all. Be acharit hayamim, be in acharit, the latter hayamim, of the days. Okay, let's go back to Yikra Etchem. What will happen to you all? Not what you will do, but what will befall you. Passive destiny framing is what's happening here. Now, regarding the Acharit Hayamim, the latter days, usually this is a title for like end times, but not always. So it's interesting that Rashi considers the speech becomes redirected from eschatological disclosure to character prophecy, right? So he considers it's more about what will happen in the future for you guys, but not in the latter days of like the world. But Ramban pushes back. This is still genuinely prophetic, but not systematic. End times blueprint, rather tribal trajectories extending into Israel's historical unfolding. Okay, verse 2. Hikavetsu v'shim'u b'nei Yaakov v'shim'u el Yisrael ahavichem. So hikavetsu, this is another imperative from the verbal root kabatz, where we get the modern Hebrew word kibbutz, right? A collective farm. So hikavetsu is be gathered. It's a synonym to heyasifu. Heyasifu, hikavetsu, hikavetsu. V'shim'u, another imperative. And here, b'nei Yaakov, oh sons of Jacob. V'shim'u, and here, or listen, el, unto Yisrael avichem, Israel, the father of Chem, to Israel your father. Verse 3. Reuven bechori ata kochi v'reshit oni v'yeter se'et v'yeter az. Reuven, Reuben, bechori ata, the bechor of E, my bechor, my firstborn are ata, are you. Usually ata, but here ata. Kochi, my koach, my strength, my power. By the way, make sure to check out, maybe I'll play that today for the intermission. Make sure to check out the song Kochacha over on Patreon. I've got a song that a lot of people liked, and I have over there. That's about needing Adonai's strength in the midst of the Maya, the chaos of the normal workplace or having a normal day job and such. So Kochi, my power, the Reshit Oni, and the first of my own, not yours, but my own, my very own, my precious own, Aleph Vav Nun, is generative power, physical power, or wealth. There's this idea that you see expressed throughout the Tanakh that the firstborn child gets some kind of extra power from the father. That first batch of his seed that becomes a child has some kind of extra to it. Oni. Now, some of you, before you raise your hand and say, hey, why are you translating the beginning when you're so insistent that the book of Genesis should be translated Bereshit in a beginning? That's a good question. I'm glad you considered asking, and I preempted you. The thing is, we have a construct chain here, and the last word is defined, it's definite. It's not just own, it's not anybody's own, it's oni, it's my own. That makes the chain definite. So when we have a definite construct chain, we try to put the word the on all the other words in the chain. That is not the case with the book of Genesis, where the second word is a finite verb, bara, he created. So it's impossible to translate in the beginning of creating, like some would try to argue. Hebrew doesn't express it that way. It says, in a beginning, bara, he created. So anyway, here we have Reshit Oni. If it was just Reshit On, it would be a beginning or a first of generative power. But it's Oni, my generative power. This is who Reuven was. He was the Reshit Ono, the first of his generative power, referring back to Yaakov, to Israel. Yeter Se'et. Yeter Se'et. The excess or the choicest, the best of Se'et, of honor, something that's on high, that's nasad, that's lifted up. V'yeter az, and the choicest of az, strength. I think that's better than saying remainder. By the way, let me know what you think about the size of the Hebrew letters today. I tried to make it very readable, very legible, thanks to some feedback from some of you who are watching on cellular phones. Verse 4. Pachas kamayim altota ki alita mishkevei avicha az chilalta yetzu'i alaha. Ouch. Pachas. Pei. Kate Zion. This only shows up one time in the entire Tanakh, the entire corpus of the Hebrew Bible. Pachaz. It's a hotbox legomemnon. You know, I really want to write a song. Hotbox. It's a hotbox. Hotbox. Hotbox legomemnon. Hotbox. It's a hotbox. Hotbox. It's a hotbox. Hotbox legomemnon. Not a dish legomemnon or a chest legomemnon. Anyways, something like that I think could be fun. Maybe we could introduce all kinds of grammatical terms in the song. It's a hotbox. Legomemnon. Okay. It means a brimming over, right? Like of water overflowing, something like this. So pachaz kamayim, like the waters, al totah. So it's interesting. He's been using yeter, and now he uses the verb that comes from. This is from the verb yatar. It's a pei yod verb, and that's why the yod is gone. But this is a hefil. Total. So pachaz kamayim al totah, a brimming and overflowing as the waters. Al totar, you shall not remain or be left over. Ki alita, because you alad, ayin lamed hey, you went up. Mishkavei avicha. So here's a good word. I did this with a lesson today, with the kids' lesson. So, mishkav. If you didn't know the word mishkav, I'm often telling my students, and I've never heard anybody teach this before. I don't know why. I'm still waiting to hear the big gap in logic here, the mistake in my knowledge. So let me know if you see a big problem with this. But I teach that if you know the verbal root of a noun, shakav, in this case, and there's a mem as part of that word, right? Not meaning like from, but part of the word. No dagesh in the sheen, so we know it's not from, and you don't know what that word means, but you know the verbal root, then you can think of it as one of two things usually, right? Usually, actually, one of three things, but they're all kind of related. It's usually something that helps that verb to accomplish what the verb is talking about, or it's the product of said verb, or it's it's what we would call like not an employee, but like it's like the person that does the thing. Okay, they're not necessarily paid for the person doing the thing. Most of the time it somehow helps the verb to do its thing, right? So an example is asa, to do or to make, and we have ma'ase, what is made, right? Like a product, like the ma'ase yadecha, the work of your hands, the handiwork of your handiwork, right? Like that. Like in Psalm 8, talking about the heavens and everything which God has made, ma'ase yadecha, your handiwork. So here, if you remember shakav, and you should remember, because what do we have in the ve'ahavta? Uf shochbecha. And when you shachav, when you lay down, uvakumecha, and when you arise. Literally in the laying down of you. Uveshochbecha, and v in shochev, laying down of, cha, of you, and the lying down of you. It's infinitives work that way. So here, what do you lay down? What would help you to lay down? What do you need to lay down usually? With the idea of like, well, you need a mishkav, a bed. So this is a bed. It's the plural. Mishkaveh. I don't know why it's in the plural, except maybe to express some kind of awe, perhaps. Mishkaveh avicha, the beds of your father. Right? Al total, you will not remain, you will not continue, you will not overflow. Ki alita, because you went up, Mishkaveh avicha, on the beds of your father, or to the beds of your father. Az, when, Chilalta. Chilal. This is to pierce or to profane. There's another one that looks just like it that can mean to begin, but that's what's happening here. When you profane, da yetzuri, the yetzura of my couch or bed, Allah, going up onto it. Of course, referring to Bilha. All right, let's read from the Codex. Vayikra Yaakov el Banaiv. Then Yaakov summoned his sons. Vayomer, and he said, Heasifu, be gathered, be collected. Ve'agida, and let me relate lachem to you all, et asher yikra etchem. What will happen to you? What will befall you? Ve'acharet hayamim, in the latter days, or in the future, perhaps. Genesis 49, verse 2. Hikavetsu, be gathered, be collected. V'shim'u b'nei Yaakov, and hear, O sons of Jacob. V'shim'u el Yisrael, and listen to Israel. Avichem, y'all's father. Verse 3. Reuven bechori, ata kochi, v'reshit oni. Reuben is my firstborn, or my firstborn are you, my power, and the beginning, or the start of my generative power. Se'etz, on high or honorable, something like this. The yeter az, and the best part of strength. Verse 3. Oh, did I not put verse 4 in the from the codex here? Oops. Right, because I stuck it over there on the side. I got a little to make it look better. Okay, well, we'll live. Hachaz kamayim. Oh wait, we do have it. We do have it. We do have it. So where's verse 3? Hold on. Where's verse 3? Oh, we're fine. I just got off on the count. Okay, good. Yay, it is here. Okay. Verse 4. Pachaz kamayim. Brimming over or overflowing like the waters. Al tota. You shall not remain. Or you shall not be what remains. Ki alita mishkeve avicha. Because you went up on your father's beds. Az chilalta. Yetzuri Allah. When you profaned my couch going up. Okay, here's verse 5. I'm going to take a quick drink. I'll let you go ahead and familiarize yourself with it. By the way, I want to inoculate you from any bad feelings this Shabbat. Today's Torah portion is very difficult language. Not only is it poetic, but it's ancient. It's just so old. And there's a lot of dispute among scholars. There's a lot of hapax legomimna, like words that occur only one time. It's just difficult. So don't feel bad if you're having trouble. But that also means that most of what we will do today, I'll be commenting on the language. There won't be a whole lot of stuff from the sages and stuff, right? So, verse 5. Shimon v'Levi achim kalei chamas mecherotehem. Ouch. Shimon v'Levi, those guys, achim, brothers. Although some interpret this as both, like more loosely. De kalei chamas, instruments of violence. Mecherotehem. So this mechera is the word. It's going to have a few different meanings. Mechera, although it's only one time in the Bible. Halot recommends plan or recommendation. The Dictionary of Classical Hebrew recommends counsel, plan, weapon, staff, or beguilement. Klein, Rabbi Klein, very interesting rabbi. He was a Holocaust survivor, originally from Hungary, and he spoke 40 languages. He wrote an interesting book called the Etymological Dictionary of Hebrew, and what I like about that dictionary, it's a good one. If you just got to choose one, that's not a bad one to get. Not bad to get. And well, I mean those. Although don't get me wrong, Gesenius or BDB are also excellent, excellent. You know what? Those I might actually prefer those because they do more as far as comparing to other ancient languages and such. Although some of that happens to Klein. But anyway, Klein, the work of one guy, right? And Klein, although so is Gesenius, Klein he defaults he defaults to biblical Hebrew. So if it doesn't say anything, the entry's talking about biblical Hebrew. So I like that he prioritized that. And then for the same entry, it will tell you what it means in post-biblical Hebrew, right? What it means in modern Hebrew. And so that's kind of cool that he does that. Right? But you don't get the depth that you get from Gesenius, BDB, Halat, or DCH. So he says weapon, question mark, origin, question mark. I'm not sure how he got origin. And then Gesenius says perhaps swords, so called from piercing through. And the Greek says machaya here, which is sword. Oops, earlier today I thought it was romphia, which is a double-edged sword. It's just machaya, a sword. So this is all one word. They're trying to figure out what it is. We are being Israel. We are wrestling with the divine. In this case, the divine text. Mechero tehem. They're those things. I got a bit more to share on it. I want to share what the modern scholar Nahum Sarna says. Any translation of this unique word is guesswork. Neither the ancient versions nor medieval exegetes preserved any convincing tradition. The present rendering is based on Hebrew kara, to dig, hence a digging or piercing instrument. Right. By the way, this is the word that is in Psalm 22 that some of the anti-missionaries, the counter-missionaries, like the wicked Tovia Singer, will say, "Oh, that doesn't mean pierce, dark," because it's just digging. But that look, even here we have a Jewish scholar who is saying that that can mean to pierce, right? The idea of piercing. A translation wears based on the stem makar to sell is particularly attractive, right? So if instead of he's trying out different roots for mechera, right? What if it's from machar, right, which is to sell? In that it becomes an ironic comment on the response of the two brothers to the offer of the Shechemites, as reported in Genesis 34, verse 10. So I like you guys to know when we aren't exactly sure, and here we're not exactly sure. It's also similar to a word pruning knife, right? So I think maybe because of the well, we know it's got to be an instrument of violence, right? So I don't think origin makes any sense here that Klein's recommending. I would scratch that off right away, right? Okay, weapon. Okay, maybe. Verse 6. Besodam atavo nafshi bikalalam, pardon me, bikalam altecha kevodi ki ve'apam hareglu ish ve'otzonam akarosho. Man, I don't know that we can qualify this all as a blessing. So besod am. No, it's not at Sodom. It's besod am, in the sod of them. Sod is a confidential discussion. Here you can see it spelled effectively. A confidential discussion, a secret, a scheme, or a circle of confidence, according to Halot. DCH recommends council or council. And then Sarna says here the tribal gatherings at which decisions are made. So in their tribal gatherings, let's go with Sarna, or you could say councils, secret councils. Al tavo nafshi, my nefesh, my soul will not attend, right? Will not come. Big halalam, in their congregations or their gatherings, perhaps. Al techad, she will not. And this verb here, many think it's from yachad, but um, Rabbi Moshe Cohen says that it's from echad, and that because the aleph is gone, it's represented by the tseri under the te. So te echad and the aleph just delighted and wasn't written anymore. So al techad, she will not be united with, she will not join. What will not join? I'm sorry, it wasn't my soul still. That was feminine, that's why I went with that. Oh yeah, I think it is. But it's kind of weird, kavod, kavodi, my kavod. What is kavod? That could be the subject of that verb. My heaviness, my burden, It's not going to be riches or importance. It could be glory or honor. Some say essence and power in a broader sense. It might be power, my power, because we have the like my weightiness, because we had just recently kochi, my power, when talking about Reuven. He ve'apam, because in their anger, haregu ish, they slayed men. Yes, it does just say man, but you can do this. You can treat it like a collective noun, right? We do this all the time. Like, man does not live by bread alone, right? Uvirtzonam, and by their desire, or by their own will, if we treat the vav as emphatic, Eikerusho, they hamstrung oxen. Again, as a collective noun, singularly, they hamstrung an ox, but it's actually oxen. Now, I've always been uncomfortable with this. I understand them having revenge and killing all the men in Shechem, but why would they hamstring oxen? That doesn't even make sense unless it's metaphorical about doing damage to others who weren't involved, right? Because they took the animals and they took the women for themselves, right? So I like an answer that's given by Ibn Ezra. He explains Ikru Shul as if it said Ikru Shul, hewed out a wall. He hewed out a wall. They hewed out a wall, i.e., to gain entrance into Shechem, right? They snuck in by digging through the wall so they didn't have to go through the city gates. I like that explanation because this has bothered me for a long time, claiming that they hurt innocent animals. Like, why? Not only because they're innocent animals, but they're something they could use, right? It wasn't under a cherem, a ban devoted to Hashem or something like that. Okay, verse 7. Ahod apam kiyas ve'avatam ki kashata achalakim be'Yaakov v'afitzem be'Yisrael. Okay. Arul, cursed is Am, the Af of Am, their nostril, literally, which means their anger. Cursed is their anger. Kiaz, for it is strong. Ve'evrat Am, this is from the word Ve'evra, which means fury or wrath. And their wrath, Ki kashata, for it was harsh. This word you may recommend, or you may remember coming up in Exodus soon. The Egyptians afflicted our ancestors with all kinds of avodah kasha, harsh labor. This is a verb from the same root. Kasha for the masculine, but kashata. Oh, I'm sorry, it's feminine here. Kashata, because of avra. For it was harsh, meaning their avra, their wrath. I should have put wrath. I like wrath rather than fury for this. Usually fury is panim, like face. But this, I mean, I guess wrath and fury are strong synonyms, aren't they? Achalakim, achalakim. I will give the chalik, the portion of aim of them. I will divide their portion, Yaakov, among Jacob. Ve'afitz aim, and I will cause to putz them, not to be confused with pots in Yiddish. I will cause to disperse them. I will disperse them, Yisrael, among Israel. And how interesting, right? Today we don't even know who Shimon is. They're pretty small. And Levi was dispersed among all the tribes. That's why we even have Levi today and why they're so much smaller than Judah, right? Most of us are Jews. Levi's only 8% of the population because they were lost among the other tribes that were lost, right? So, okay. That really was like a prophecy. It really did come true. Okay, let's read from the Codex. Shimon velewi, achim. Simon and Levi, both of them, are literally brothers. Telechamas, necherotehem. Weapons of violence or instruments of violence were their recommendations, their weapons. their swords, if we go with Gesenius. Vesodam, this is verse 6, in their chief councils or in their secret councils, al tavo nafshi, my soul will not enter. Bikalalam, bikhalam, I always want to do that. Bikhalam, in their assemblies, their congregation, al techad kevodi, my honor, my glory, perhaps my strength or power will not unite with, will not join with. Ki ve'apam harguish, because in their anger they slew men. Uvitzonam, and by their will, aiku shor, we'll just be literal, they hamstrung oxen. Although, I like Ibn Ezra's understanding of shor as shul here. They hewed out a wall. Verse 7. Aru apam, cursed is their anger. Ki az, for it is strong. Ve'avatam, and their wrath. Ki kashata, for it was harsh. Achalekeim beYaakov, I will divide them among Jacob. Va'avitzeim beYisrael, and I will disperse them among Israel. Let me get another drink. Have a look, see, have a gander. Verse 8. Yehuda ata yoducha achecha yadecha be'oref oyevecha ishtachavu lecha b'nei avicha. Woohoo! Yehuda, Judah, ata yoducha achecha. You, yoducha. This is a word play, right? With Yehuda, now expanded. It's not Leah's gratitude, but national recognition. So your brothers will thank you. Yadecha be'oref oyavecha. Your hand is against the nape of the neck of your enemy. Boy, we see that today as we are wrecking the wicked regime in Iran, aren't we? Just wrecking them in their proxies. By this blessing of our Father, as honored by Hashem, our God, it is so true that the hand of Judah is be'oref oyavecha. Even though Netanyahu is a Levi, still, most are Judah. Yishtachavu lecha b'nei avicha. The sons of your father will yishtachavu. They will prostrate down lecha to you. This is that word which you must be very wary of. It means to prostrate down, right? Showing great respect. In Jewish Greek, this renders proskuneo. This is the word that every single place in the apostolic writings or the New Testament, every single place where English translators translate worshipped or worship, if the object is Yeshua Hamashiach, is Yeshua Hanotri, it's this word. It's supposed to know they prostrated down. Whenever you have worshipped and it's God the Father, that is the object of the worship. Well, not whenever, but whenever the word that clearly means worship, and we can't translate it another way, it's prostrated down. When it's latreo in the Greek, which is avad, like to serve in Hebrew, that is always going to be the Father. You never see that applied to the Son. Just an interesting note there. So it'd be silly for me to say they will worship you, right? The sons of your father will worship you, right? Unless we're going with a very old meaning of the English word worship, which can just mean to bow down to, right? Okay. Which might even be why the King James guys chose that word, because it had different meanings back then than it does now. And now it's just tradition, right? And it's hard for translators to get away from. It can be a mode of worship, right? Just like singing can be a mode of worship. Or you could be singing gangster rap, in which case, definitely not worship. Or some old hippy dippy song about drugs and all that, and free love and all that. Not worship. Not worship. Verse 9. Go, ye Yehuda, mitereth b'nei alita, kara, kavatz ke'aryeh, וכלהביא מי יקימנו, יקימנו. Okay, ghoul. No, this is not a sojourner. Not a sojourner. Ghoul means cub. Remember our first prime minister? David Ben Gurion. David, son of a lion cub. The on means is diminutive, means like a little cub. Aryeh Yehuda. So Gul Aryeh, a lion cub, is Yehuda, is Judah. Mittereth, from tearing of Beni, my son. Alita, you went up, meaning he did not participate. Well, he participated, but I mean he stopped them from killing him, right? From from taraffing him. Kara, Ravatz. He bent the knee, Ravatz, and then did this like an animal does, right? Laid down. Ke'aryeh, like an animal. Pardon me, like a lion. Uchelavi, and like a lavi is a young lion, right? Like a strong, like a lion in its prime. Mi yekimenu, who can stand against him? Or it could be who can, literally, who can make him stand, right? Because he's ravatzing, he's chill, yo. Taref can also mean prey, right? Like that which is torn. And so maybe that's better to understand it. From prey, my son, you go up. Kara, crouching down or bending down. Ravatz, laying down in the comfortable way where an animal covers their paws with their body. Ke'aryeh, like a lion. Uchelavi, and like a vigorous young lion. Mi yakimenu, who can make him arise? Verse 10. Lo yasu shevet mihuda, mechokek mi ben raglayv, ועד כי יבוא שילה ולא יקהת לעמים. לא יסור שבט מיהודה. The Shevet, the scepter, shall not Yasul depart Mihuda from Judah. Umechokek ben Raglaiv, or the commandery from between his feet. This chakak, the root of it, the idea is to inscribe, like to write down. In Judges, we have the Chokakei Yisrael, the commanders of Israel. And it says PL, though. I know, Dr. De Vera, you're interested in some of the odder forms. It falls under the category of PL, but it technically is a pole pel. Okay, so. Not until he yavo, when he arrives, Shiloh. This is kind of weird. Shiloh, like to Shiloh. Okay. Not to be confused with Sheol. Perhaps Sheol is a lost word and O is his, but we don't really know. The Rambam notices that the continuation of kingship until an ultimate ruler, this is what this is talking about, there's a possible reading of Shiloh as Shal Lo, or pardon me, Shai Lo, until tribute comes in. Shai is a poetic word for gift, right? Velo, and to him, Yikat Amim is the Yikat Amim. This is a dyslegomemnon. It only occurs twice in the Torah Bible, in the Torah Bible, in the entire Bible. it means obedience. Velo yikhat amim, and to him is or will be the obedience of nations, of peoples. Verse 11. I think we're seeing this now with Israel and its neighbors. Oseri la gefen ero vela shoreka beni atono ki beis vayayin levosho uvedam anavim suto. Okay. Oseri la gefen, bound up to the vine. Ero. So probably not his city, but we've got a lot of animal stuff. So his this is can be the word for male donkey. You have to be careful not to confuse city with donkey. With it's his male donkey. The idea probably being that donkeys, you don't want them anywhere near your vineyard because they trample like crazy. But he'll have so many vineyards and be so blessed that it won't even matter. There's no place to put the donkey. Villa soeka, and to the soeka, only time in the entire Bible is this word, is noble grape or choice vine, depending if you look at halot or tch. Beni, my son, autono, his ass, his female donkey. So we have Hebrew parallelism. We have the el. And so in case you thought it meant city, when we got down here to autono, his female donkey, you'd realize, that's male donkey and female donkey. So we could disambiguate it through the process of examining Hebrew parallelism. He base. He washes, or washed, laundered really, by yayin, with the wine, levush, his clothing. Uvedam anavim, suto. And with the blood of grapes, this is a poetic way, of course, to say wine. We see this in the Song of Moses also. Suto, his garment. Oops, Garmin. His Garmin, his GPS system. Verse 12. Chachlili erinayim miyayin. Uleven shinayim mechalav. Hachlili. This is a rare word. Here's the only time, and it means probably sparkling, although some commentators think it means dark. Right? This happens when you have a word that only occurs one time. Hachlil. Hachlil. We'll go with sparkling, but dark is also possible. Sparkling Ainayim springs, or eyes, Miyayin, from wine. Uleven Shinayim, and the whiteness of teeth, Mechalev, more than milk. Okay, so maybe his eyes will sparkle or from wine, right? Or more than wine, even. His eyes will sparkle more than wine, perhaps. Well, this is an adjective. So sparkling are our eyes more than wine, perhaps. Uleven, don't think of it end for sun. It's from Lavan. And whiteness of shinayim, of teeth, mechalav, more than chalav, more than milk. Woo! Yeah, this is some rough poetry. All right. It's beautiful and amazing, but our ancestor did not make it easy for us. All right. Genesis chapter 49, verse 8. Usually with Torah, I can just kind of read and okay, I understand, no problem. But I got to slow down and think on some of these old poems like this and like Deborah's poem in Judges and stuff. Okay. Yehuda tayoducha achecha. Judah, you, your brothers, they will thank you. Be'oref sorry. Yadecha be'oref oyevecha. Your hand will be against the nape of the necks of your enemies. Yishtachavu lecha b'nei avicha. Your father's sons will prostrate down to you. Verse 9. Right? Because David Hamelech comes from Yehuda. And so does Mashiach. Gul Aryeh. And we actually, about how interesting. I was making the connection with the apostolic writings about Yishtachave. And what does it say all over the place? What do the wise men do who come to see baby Yeshua? What do? They Yishtachavu, right? What will all the tribes of Israel do? Weep as one mourns for a lost son, right? When we look on the one whom we pierced, right? And certainly when he arose, many prostrated down before him. So very interesting. That I think we have a nice Gezerah Shava happening with what we have here in the Torah and what happened to the Mashiach. All the tribes, certainly members from all different tribes, are bowing down to him. Verse 9. Gu Aryeh Yehudah, a cub of a lion is Judah. Miteref beni, from prey, my son, Ra'alita, you shall go up. Kara, crouching down. Ravatzing, we say in my household. We talk about a cat doing it because there's really no English word I'm aware for this. Ke'aryeh, like a lion. Uchelavian, like a young lion. Mi yekimenu, who can, I'm just going to say, rouse him up, that comes to mind. Verse 10. Lo yasul shevet mihudah. The scepter shall not be removed from Judah. Umechokekei, nor the commandership, mi bain raglai, from between his feet. You know, in Hebrew parallelism, we should probably, instead of commandership, like that should be something that a commander would have, like his ruler's staff or his commanding staff or something like that, right? Shevet in parallel with mechokek. So it could be that it can have this understanding. We can make it a noun like that. Ad ki, until when? Yavo Shiloh. He arrives to Shiloh, or Shiloh. His tribute comes to him. Velo yikhat amim, and he will have the obedience of nations, literally peoples. Verse 11. Oseri la gefen ero. He binds to the vine his male donkey, vela sorekra bene atono, or beni atono, and to the noble grape, the choice vine, my son, atono, his female donkey. Ki beis bayayin levusho. He launders with wine his garments, or his clothing, let's say. Uvedam anavim, and with the blood of grapes, suto, his garment. Verse 12. Chachlili yerinayim miyayin. Eyes sparkling more than wine. Uleven shinayim mechalav, and teeth whiter than milk. Okay, we went kind of long. Let's take a little break now. You can listen to Hebrew Literacy original song. And when you hear the music stop, get back from your own egg, come back from eating your cookies or drinking your tea or whatever it is whatever it is you do here. I'll see you when you get back.
חסדך אדוני תשועתך כאמרתך ועיניך לפי דבר כי בטחתי בדברך ואל תצא מפי דבר אמת עד מעט כי משפטך ייחלתי ואשמרה תורתך תמיד לעולם ועד ואתהלך ברחבה כי פיקודך מצוותיך אשר אהבתי ואשא כפיי אל מצוותיך אשר אהבתי ואשיך בחוקיך
Welcome back. Hope you had a good break. Let's continue. Genesis chapter 49, verse 13. Zevulun lechof yamin yishkon veho lechof banio v'achato al tzidon or tzidon. Sorry, this should be a tav here. It got cut off a little bit. Zevulun lechof yamin yishkon. By the port of seas he shall dwell. Vehu lechof oniot, and he for the port of ships. The yachat al tzidon, and his yerecha. Yerecha is flank, side, or rear. Sometimes the distant part or innermost part is al tzidon, will be until tzidon. Verse 14. Yisascha chamo garem rovetz ben hamishpatayim. Yisascha is a chamor, donkey. What kind of donkey? It's actually chamor garim, a donkey of gerim. Gerim is like bone. He's like a bony ass. He's a bony donkey. Rovetz, again, relaxing on the ground the way they do. Bein hamishpatayim, between the mishpatayim. Only 3 times in the Bible, this can mean saddlebags, fireplaces, or ash heaps. You gotta, I think in the context here, it's saddlebags, right? Because he's a donkey. but he's a he's a bony donkey, a bony ass. Verse 15. Vaya menucha kitov ואת הארץ כי נעמה ויהט שכמו לסבול ויהי למס עובד ויה menucha, and he will see menucha. Security, literally resting place. Check out Numbers 10, verse 33, is used in the sense of haven, a settled home, as the parallel ha'aretz, country, shows. This is Nachum Sarna's comment. Ki tov, for it is good. Ve'et ha'aretz, but the land, or and the land. Ki na'ema, for it is pleasing. Vayet shichmo, and his shoulder inclines or turns, lisbol, to carry a burden. Vayhi lemas aved, and it shall be for forced servitude. Aved, he serves. Ouch. Verse 16. Dan yadin amo kiachad shiftei Yisrael. Now here we have a nice play on words. Dan Yadin. Dan will judge. Amo, his people. Notice we don't have to say et Amo because it's poetry. Ke achad, like one of the Shivtei Israel, tribes of Israel. Or as one of the tribes of Israel is better. This can be like or as. Ke da achad da Shivtei Israel. One of the tribes of Israel or scepters of Israel. Tribe fits here. All right, let's read from the Codex. Genesis chapter 49, verse 13. Zebulun lechof yamim yishkon. Zebulun at a port of waters, seas, he will dwell. Vehu lechof onyot, and he is for or as a port of ships. The yachato, and his flank or side, the al Sidon is all the way to Sidon. Verse 14. Yisascha chamol garem. Yisachar is a bony ass. Rovetz bein hamishpatayim. Relaxing between the saddlebags. Verse 15. Vaya melucha kitov. And he noticed that good is the melucha, the resting place. Ve'et ha'aretz, and the land. Ki na'ema, that it is pleasing, or indeed is pleasing. Vayet shichmo, but his shoulder will incline lispol to carry a burden. A sable, by the way, is like a brick, like a whitish brick that's been made, right? And it implies doing kind of brickwork. Vahi lamas aved, and it will be, or it will become, mas is for servitude, aved of service, or that he serves. Verse 16. Dan yadin amo, Dan will judge his people, ki achad shiftei Israel, as one of the tribes of Israel. Verse 17. Yehidan nachash ale derech shefifon ale oach hanoshech עקבי סוס ויפול רכבו אחור. Yehidan, Dan will be, or may Dan be, Nachash, a serpent. Ga'alei derech, going up on the road. Shefifon, this is a hapax legomemnon, just one time in the whole Bible. So it's probably onomatopoetic, like like the sound, the whatever this creature makes. Really, it can be like the hisser, a particularly dangerous type of snake with distinguishing white markings and black spots, according to Halot. DCH says a horned viper. Along the way. Oach is a synonym for derech. But when it's in the plural, it means a caravan, like those who go on in Orach. Like Orach Chaim, we're told, the way of life. Anoshech, who bites the Erkevesus, horse heels. Vayipol Uchevo, and his chariot falls. Acho, backwards. Verse 18. Lishuatecha kiviti Adonai. For your Yeshua I have waited or hoped, O Adonai. Interesting. Interesting. The imagery of the serpent biting, and now for your Yeshua, literally, I have hoped or waited, O Adonai. Of course, we can translate for your salvation, for your victory. Kiviti Hashem. Verse 19. Gad Gedud Yegudenu. We have a nice play on words here. Vehu Yagud. Gedud is a band or a troop, and the verbal root god, or gud rather, gimel vav dalit, only 3 times in the Bible means to attack. So Gad, Gedud Yagudenu, he will attack a troop, or a troop will attack him. The who Yagud, but he will have victory. The Akev, or he will be attacked. The Akev by the heel. Verse 20. Actually, did that feel right? The who, but he himself, Yogud, the Akev, shall attack at the heel. It's a whole fall, but not always passive. Verse 20. Me'asher shemena lachmo, vehu yitain ma'adane melech. May Asher, from Asher will be Shemena. Interesting. Usually we see the word Shemen, but here it's feminine. Oil, Lachmo, his food. So his food shall be oil, right? Well, it's considered a very expensive and nice thing, not gross like it sounds just today. The who, and he himself, Yitain shall give Ma'adane Melech. I feel like this gift intends to be passive, like shall be given Ma'adane Melech, kingly, royal dainties. Ma'adanim is a delicacy or a metaphor for a delight. Verse 21. Naftali ayala shelucha had noten imre shafer. Naftali ayala is a hind or a young doe. Shelucha, who's been sent. Hanoten, who gives imre shafer, words or sayings of shefer. What in the world is shefer? That is the billion-dollar question. So DCH says it means beauty. Halot tells us that the meaning is contested. Now, in Middle Hebrew, it has the idea of loved one or darling. So maybe beauty works, beautiful words, poetic words, something like this from Naphtali. Let's read from the Codex. Yehidan Nachash ale derech. May Dan be, or Dan will be, a Nachash, a serpent. Ale derech. Ale is just an older way of saying al, upon a way or upon a road, which is interesting because Dan is the only tribe which isn't mentioned in the book of Revelation, where 12,000 from each tribe are victorious. There's some traditions that the Antichrist might come from Dan. And here we have this even tying the Nachash to him, so it's kind of interesting. This shouldn't be offensive to anyone because nobody today is alive who knows they're from the tribe of Dan. Okay, so they are a lost tribe, which means probably absorbed by other peoples. They'd have to be restored. The bloodline would be so overwhelmed. We got 1% Dan, you're no longer Dan. Okay. Shefifon, a hisser, or that very dangerous snake. Vale oach, along a path. Hanoshech, who bites, ekvesus, heels of a horse. Vayipol rechovo, in his carriage, carriage, I'll go with carriage. Or it could be chariot, falls over, acho, backwards. Verse 19. Wait, wait. Is that 19? Sorry, 18. L'shuatecha kiviti Adonai. For your Yeshua I have waited, O Adonai, or for your salvation, for your victory, I have waited, or I have hoped, O Adonai. Powerful. That's just that our ancestor just sticks that in there. Verse 19. Gav Gedud Begudenu. God will be attacked by a troop, but he himself will attack the cave, the heel, or perhaps the backside of their group. Verse 20. Me'asher shemena lachmo. From Asher, oil is his food, his bread. Vehu yitain, and he himself will give ma'adane melech, from royal dainties or delicacies. Verse 21. Naphtali ayala shilucha. Naphtali is a sent doe or sent hind. Hanoten in reishafer, who yields or gives forth beautiful words. We'll just go with that, or sweet words. How you guys doing? Everyone okay today? It's poetry. All right, let's go on to the next one. I'll take a drink. All right, and we're back. Genesis chapter 49, verse 22. Bein porat Yosef, bein porat ale ayin, banot tzada ale shul, bein a son, porat Yosef, porat. So this is a nice kind of vine, probably a fruitful vine. If it said ben porat, like with a shegol instead of tseri, it would mean a young vine producing much fruit, according to Dilman. Speiser argues for a wild colt instead of a vine, pointing out that all the other blessings involve animals, not flora. Sarna similarly understands it to be a wild ass. Though neither scholar, where I initially checked, explained it, they are likely leaning on the word pere with an aleph, spelled with an aleph, which means wild ass, as in Genesis 16:12, pere Adam, a wild ass of a man. Now, let's keep translating the verse. There is some reason to consider leaning on fruitful vine. Bain, a son. Porat, a fruitful vine, or young ass, young colt, wild colt. Vale ayin, upon a what's the thing? Water coming out of the ground. I can just think of the source, a spring. Banot, daughters, za'adza, marching or striding. Va'alei, over shul, a wall. There's some syntax here. When this word is with that one, it has some other meanings. So tza'ad is to stride solemnly, walk along a path. But with ale, which we have here, it has a meaning of to climb over. Now, remember I said we'd get something else in the verse that might make fruitful vine a better understanding than an animal, despite Speiser and Sarna's arguments. Banot, daughters, can mean tendrils of a fruit tree, for example, which hang over the wall. So let's understand it to mean tendrils. Bain, a son, Porat Yosef. A fruitful vine is Yosef. Bain, a son, Porat, a fruitful vine. Dale ayin, by the spring, by a spring. Banot sa'ada ale shul. Tendrils, perhaps whose tendrils climb over the wall. And shul isn't just a regular wall, it's often a wall around a well or a barrier between fields. So that works, right? It's not a choma or a kir, one of these other words we have for walls, but it's very special. It's specialized, right? You must specialize. So I think this is by means of Hebrew parallelism, under seeing this not as daughters here, but as tendrils. Wild colts don't have tendrils, nor do wild asses. So I think it is true that Yosef is the only one who gets a plant designation. Everyone else is some kind of animal. But also, instead of having another person who's a donkey of some sort, Yosef gets to be unique. He's the vine that is providing and it's drinking from the living water. That's what you get from an ayin. Mayim Chaim, living water. And you could go deep in this, looking at how Yosef, who had the strong character of being able to resist extreme sexual temptation, that he's the one that deserves to drink from the Mayim Chaim of all of his brothers. Verse 23. Verse 23. Vayamaruhu v'chobu v'yistemuhu ba'alei chitzim v'yimarahu. So yimarahu, they embittered. Vayamaruhu, they embittered who? Him. V'chobu, and they shot. Ravav number 2 is a biform from Rava number 2, meaning to shoot, i.e., arrows. Arrows shot, not show, shot by archers are likely lashon hara, like evil speech, perhaps regarding Potiphar's wife. For this opinion, see Ibn Ezra, Rashbam, and Rashi. Sforno believes one such archer or shooter was the chief cupbearer, who called Yosef a boy and a slave. Disrespectful. Vayistamuhu, they had enmity against him. Ba'alei chitzim, the masters of arrows. Verse 24. Vateshev beitan kashto veyafozu zero'ei yadayim midei avir Yaakov misham ro'ei Evan Yisrael. Beautiful. Vateshev be'etan kashto. Vateshev. This is from the verb yashav, to sit or to dwell. And she will dwell. Ve'etan. What is etan? Etan means continuous or constant. So in in constantness, right? So continuously. Vateshev be'etan, continuously, and will dwell continuously. Kasht. Oh, this is the keshet of his keshet, his bow, right? They're the ones who are the archers, but his bow will dwell continuously. Vayafos u, vayafos u, and will be pazaz, to meaning to be supple or quick moving. De zera'ei yadayv, the arms of his hands, like the forearms of his arms is really it's like the hands have arms. The hills have eyes and the hands have arms. Mi de yedei avil Yaakov, from the hands of the Avil. Aleph Beit Yod Resh means mighty one or strong bull of Yaakov, of Jacob. This is a title for Kadosh, for Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Misham, from there, Ro'eh. Misham, why is he saying from there? And I can't remember. Sorry, I can't give credit. I read one commentator suggested that perhaps when Yaakov was giving the blessing, he gestured towards the heavens, right? Because it's the mighty one of Jacob, Misham, from there. Ro'ei Evan Israel, shepherd. You might want to say the shepherd. This is surely Hashem, the shepherd of Israel. And what follows next to make sure we get who the Ro'ei is? Evan Israel, the rock of Israel, the stone of Israel. Very nice. Beautiful. Hope you guys are enjoying this blessing of the tribes. Let's read it from the Codex. And I will just go with my opinion on this. You can choose which option you think makes more sense. Ben Polat Yosef, a son, a fruitful vine is Yosef. Ben Polat Alayin, a son, a fruitful vine near the spring. Banot Sa'adza Aleshul, tendrils crawling over the wall of the spring. Verse 23. Vaimararuhu Varobu, though they embittered him and shot, vayistemuhu, and they had contentiousness, they were contentious with him, the Ba'alei Chitzim, the master of arrows. Verse 24. Vateshiv be'etan kashto. His bow shall continuously dwell or sit. Like it's always ready, is what it feels like it's saying. Vayafozu zera'e yadai. And the and his biceps will be supple. Midei avir Yaakov. I could be wrong about biceps. That's just what it feels like to me now. In the moment, from or on account of the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. Misham, gesturing upwards. From there is Ra'eh, the shepherd. Evan Yisrael, the rock or the stone of Israel. Which is interesting. Usually we refer to him as Tzul Yisrael. Tzul Michshalo. Okay, I'll take a quick drink. You absorb it in. We are almost done with the Torah portion. It went faster than I thought it would. This is the end of the Torah portion we're about to tackle now. Genesis chapter 49, verse 25. Me'el avicha. Actually, let's zoom in, just in case it's not big enough for those of you on cell phones. I made it bigger, but I want to be safe and make sure you can really see. Me'el avicha v'yazreka ve'et shaddai v'varechaka v'vacheka ברכות שמיים מעם, ברכות תהום רובצת תחת, ברכות שדיים ורחם. And I do need to zoom out so you can see the notes. I apologize for that. I think it's big enough. May ale from God, Avicha, your father. Now, look what I have marked here. I've marked Ale and I've marked Shaddai. You guys know El Shaddai, right? Now, here we have a Hebrew poetic device. It's called the breakup of stereotyped names. I learned this from Mitchell Dahoud's 3-volume commentary called The Grammar of the Psalter. It's used in poetry. El Shaddai is broken into 2 pieces to hold everything together even stronger. So, Me El Avicha V'Yazreka Ve'et Shaddai. But it's kind of hard to translate, isn't it? Because we have the L over here and we have Shaddai over here. But we'll do it literally in English. From God, Avicha, your father, the Ya'azreka, and he will help you. The eight, and with Shaddai. But we've got that El Shaddai there, right? You see how it's broken up with words in between? You'll see like Adonai, and then later you'll see Elohim. You'll see Adonai, and then later it's Sevaot. This breakup of stereotyped names. Viva and he will bless you. Birchot, blessings of Shemayim, of heaven. Me'al, from upon or from with. Birchot Tahom, blessings of the deep. Here, Tahom, it hints about deep, deep wells, right? Deep, deep waters underneath your land. You're never going to run out of fresh water. Even if the rain stops, you have Tahom, the deep. Rovetzet, crouching. Not really crouching. Like, again, it's resting how cats put their arms underneath them. Sheep do this too, right? Tachat, underneath. So, birchot, blessings of Tahom, of the deep, which is rovetzet tachat, which is crouching or resting underneath. Birchot shadayim, blessings of shadayim, of breasts. Varacham, and probably rechem. So I have highlighted a couple things here, Shaddai and Shaddayim. I think you can hear what I'm about to share. We have wordplay happening here. Wordplay. Shaddai, Shaddayim. He's El Shaddai, he's God who provides. And here we have Shaddayim, breasts. Racham, it's probably just in pause for Rechem. Right? Usually Rechem will become Rachem, but here it's Racham. That could have happened over centuries of singing, however our ancestors had it memorized. So this means womb. So blessings of breasts and womb. Let me take a drink real quick. Oh no, I'm out of lemon water. Verse 26, the last verse in the Torah portion. Surprisingly, since Benjamin's not named yet. Bechot avicha gavero al bechot horai ta'avat givot olam תחיינה לראש יוסף, או לקודקוד נזיר אחיך. Okay. ברכות אביך, blessings of your father. גברו, they are strong, they're mighty. This is where we get the word gever from, or gibor, a mighty man, a man of war. Le'al, over, or more than, da birchot horai, the blessings of Horai. What is Horai? Horai is a participle from hara, to get pregnant or conceive. So we understand my ancestors from literally my conceivers, right? Those who conceived me. It seems Yaakov is being intentionally inclusive of his male and female forebears. We can see how modern Hebrew dialect gained the word for parent, Hore, right? Conceiver, literally. Horim, our parents. We don't have this word I don't think we have it in other dialects of Hebrew. Let me know if I'm wrong on that, if you guys have seen it elsewhere, rabbinical Hebrew or something like this. But you can see here, it almost means that, right? But it's not just parents, it's beyond, it's my ancestors. Because if you just say Avotai, that does mean my ancestors, but it kind of makes you think of my fathers, right? Because Av is father. So very interesting and poetic. Nice use here. Until ta'avat givot ha'olam, the hope or desire, what is this, of ancient hills or hills of eternity, literally. He's probably using cosmic language now. The ancient mountain, right? The ancient hills or the eternal hills. Tichye, Tichye, they shall be. Le Rosh Yosef, for Joseph's head. Ule Kod Nazir Echai, and for the crown of the Nazir of his brothers. Nazir, like a prince, is a Nazir, right? It's similar to like Kadosh, like one who's set apart for the thing. And then here we have the pay. This is the end of the Torah portion here. I have one more comment from a Barbanel. The point of all of this is that Joseph is superior to his brothers by nature, but in a way that arouses jealousy in them, making him unfit for the kingship. A king must be loved by the people. And then, just in case you think I made a mistake here by leaving out verse 27, which is the verse dealing with Binyamin, this is the next part in the Leningrad Codex. See? Next Torah portion coming up. And what's the first word? Benjamin. Okay. So big white space here indicated by the pay, which you can actually see in the scroll if I just made it one big picture. And next week we deal with Benjamin and what's his deal. Hope you guys enjoyed the Torah portion. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. What is our lekach today? What is the lekach? Parental verbal blessings, they carry real weight, guys. When the parent is a tzaddik or tzedeket, a righteous person, a law abiding person, there's real power to that parental blessing. It's a good idea, if you do not do it already, to get into the habit of doing the Friday night blessings of children. Or if there's patriarchs in the house, grandchildren can be included, or even great grandchildren. You first do the boys, they come up on the knees if you can, or stand nearby. Put your hand on some of their heads and do the blessing that they'll be like Menashe and Ephraim. And then do it for the daughters, that they'll be like Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. That's a great thing to do that weekly, to sew that into the tapestry of the neshama of a child, even an adult. We need those parental blessings too, don't we? We need those parental blessings. I know some people whose parents are not part of their lives. The parents really are kind of laissez-faire parents. This happens, I think, more and more in the West with the results of the hippie generation and all that the hippies did. Right, just kind of like the selfish generation, right? The baby boomer generation. Not everybody, but you know, it's children always need their parents, even when the kids are in their 50s and 60s. If their parents haven't passed, they wish and deeply desire they're part of their life and blessing. Don't miss that opportunity. If you are a parent or a godparent or an auntie or uncle, even if you don't have children of your own, there's still ways you can impart this blessing on them. Some crimes against a parent result in ramifications on generations to come. Look what happened to Reuben. Goodness. Because he went up on the Mishkaveh Aviv. How can we instill proper attitudes in children to their parents for their own good? Right? How can we instill proper attitudes that children, as they grow up, will always respect and honor their parents? Kids, if you're listening, or teens, wherever you are, immature adults in the 20s, brain hasn't finished forming yet, your frontal cortex isn't done yet. Listen and pay attention. And parents have the right attitude. When you teach your children to show respect to the parents, to kibed et avicha v'et imecha, it's for their own good. Somebody else is watching. It's not just us, but our Father who is in heaven is watching, is watching. And parents, be worthy of honor, be worthy of respect. Don't punish your children with too much wrath, and don't be negligent and out of their lives and then suddenly show up and expect honor and respect when you have not been deserving of honor or respect. Children and parents, we should all work together. This blessing is generational. And certainly at everyone's heart of hearts, they want those who come after them to succeed, to do well, to be blessed, and to not have the ayin hara harassing them in life, but to be like the descendants of Yosef, Hatzadik. Because we are currently at war, we'll say this bracha. But it's interesting. I think since we started saying these blessings, the viewership, the number of views of our Torah portion videos has dropped in half. I think that's algorithmic, but we're still going to say it. We're still going to bless the IDF. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל. העומדים על משמר ארצנו וערי אלוהינו, מגבול הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים, ומן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה, ביבשה, באוויר ובים. ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו ניגפים לפניהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם, ויהי רצון מלפניך שתשמרם בחייהם ותעזרם במלחמתם, ותבוא עליהם ברכת טוב לעד עד עד. Amen. There's the English. For those who want it, take a screenshot. And let's pray for the armed forces of the USA, even if you are not an American citizen. The Army of the United States is doing a good thing right now. And remember, those who bless my people shall be blessed. So even if you were one of these nut jobs like Tucker Carlson, who thinks that this is not helping America to stop the world's number one terror regime from having a nuclear weapon, then it's good to be doing it for Israel as well. Oh, actually, we'll say it in English. I think English makes sense here. Almighty God on high, omnipotent King, look down from your sanctified abode and bless the valiant soldiers of the American military forces who risk their lives to protect the welfare of all your creation. Oh, benevolent God, please be their shelter and fortress and do not allow them to falter. May harmony dwell in their ranks, victory in their battalions. Please fill their hearts with faith and courage to thwart the evil schemes of our enemies and to abolish every rule of evil. Please protect them on land, in the air, and in the sea. And please destroy their adversaries. Oh, guide them in peace. Lead them toward peace and return them speedily to their families alive and unharmed, as it is written. God will shield you from all evil. He will guard your soul. Oh, God will safeguard your departure and survival from now and forevermore. Please grant us true peace in fulfillment of the prophecy. Nation shall not lift up sword against another nation, nor shall they learn war anymore. Let all the inhabitants of the world know that dominion is yours, and your name inspires awe upon all that you have created. May this be your will, and let us say, Amen. And finally, Ein Lanu Kohen, Po Achshav, Ein Lanu Lewi, Po Achshav, E'aseh et habracha hazot achei tzedek achei tzedek, ki yesh lanu Kohen, b'shemayim mima'al, Yeshua Shemo. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. Shavua Tov, my friends. Have a great and excellent week ahead. And remember, on Sundays we got Joshua class. On Monday we got Judges class. On Tuesday we got Exodus class. On Wednesdays we got First Kings class in the graphic novel format. On Thursdays we have Koheleth, that's Ecclesiastes class. On Fridays we have Isaiah class. And of course, Shabbat you just did. Every day is a day of learning at Hebrew Literacy. Be blessed and don't drop the ball. Don't miss out on these resources. Have a great and blessed day. Special shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. You make it so we can buy groceries. Until next time, shalom, shalom.